Sam Huff came to the Giants in 1956. They win the NFL championship that first year in Yankee Stadium. What were some of the things that you learned from him and your experiences with him?
He was a tough guy. He was a tough guy playing during a tough era.
What do you do that for, 88? You do that one more time, 88, I'm going to sock you one. Now, don't do that. You run again, you get a broken nose. Don't do that. Hit me on the chin with your elbow.
You know, playing against, you know, the players who were playing during that era, he stood out. And one of the things that I thought about when I was coming into, you know, playing for the Giants was I wanted to be mentioned in the same breath as Sam Huff.
Quarterbacks find red dogging middle guard Sam Huff the toughest in the league.
You know, I came from West Virginia and I was the son of a coal miner, and when I came to New York, it was just, I was born to play here. It's such a magnificent city. In Yankee Stadium, there was nothing like playing at Yankee Stadium. I mean, it was like playing in a Hall of Fame. And to be in the same locker room where Babe Ruth played and Mickey Mantle, I shared a locker with Mickey Mantle. When they moved out after winning the World Series, we always were practicing at Fordham University because we had Vince Lombardi and Wellington Mara, and I think they all went to Fordham. So we used Fordham. And then we would come into that stadium, and every time you came into the Yankee Stadium, it was like coming into the Hall of Fame. It was really something very, very special. And to play there, the way we played there.
As a rookie in 1956, Huff would benefit from the tutelage of some of the most brilliant minds football has ever known.
You realize we had the greatest coaching staff in the history of the National Football League? Vince Lombardi coached the offense, and Tom Landry coached the defense, and Jim Lee Howe was the head coach.
1956 was a very special year by any standard. New York had all of a sudden awakened to the fact that there was a professional football team. And it wasn't just the Yankees, it wasn't just DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle. And all of a sudden we were selling out Yankee Stadium. The key to our great year was our defense. The first person I know that brought intelligence, strategy, and tactics into defense was Tom Landry. And he developed the 4-3 defense, which still is the dominant defense in pro football today.
Landry's 4-3 defensive scheme was designed to take advantage of the instinctive skills of his middle linebacker, Sam Huff.
It was Tom Landry who saw something in Sam that made him think I could turn him into a linebacker. And he was an instant linebacker. And he was quick, he was smart, and he was very fast. And he had intelligence that you had to play Tom Landry's defense, number one, and to play middle linebacker was the key to it.
In this defense, the job of the 4-down lineman was to keep Huff free of potential blockers, leaving him open to roam as a rover in the vicinity of the football.
Modulewski and Greer, their job really was to protect Sam. Pressure if they could, to make sure that the offensive guard was not going to get to Sam, the middle linebacker. They were to make sure Sam was free, and Sam loved that.
New York's amazing season culminated in the 1956 NFL Championship game, where they would host the Chicago Bears at Yankee Stadium in a finale that would climax the NFL's first year of nationally televised broadcasts. In one of the most physical games to date, Huff and the Giants' defense would dominate the Bears en route to a 47-7 victory.
As far as I'm concerned, that was when not only the Giants arrived, that was when pro football arrived.
The New York Giants win professional football's biggest prize, the World's Championship.
I was very proud of our football team. I was very proud of being in New York. What a great time of everything that took place. It was just super.
Sam Huff is a great player and a great friend of mine now. He even talks to me once in a while. And because the defense did not talk to the offense, and he carried that on for many, many years. Our defense had a great deal of pride. Not only were they really good, and you talk about Andy Robustelli, Jim Catkavage, Dick Modulewski, Rosie Greer, Emma Tennell in the backfield, Sam Huff in the middle. This was a very, very special group of people. One of the great things that happened in one particular game. We were going back and forth. We'd three and we'd punt, and in would come the defense, they'd stop them again. But I remember coming out in about the third quarter, and we had gone nowhere. And we'd 3 and out again, and we're walking off the field. Huff jumped in front of our offensive team, started jumping up and said, "Can't you guys go out there and at least hold them for a while?" Screaming and yelling. And it's a miracle we didn't have actual physical fights with them, probably because the offense knew better. It sort of personifies what Sam was all about. He had such pride in first himself, in the defense.
I was very happy with playing in New York. I was very happy having Frank Gifford as a teammate, and Y.A. Tittle, and Charlie Connolly, and Roosevelt Brown, and Roosevelt Greer, and Emlyn Tunnell, all those great ball players. They were stars in themselves.
In the years that we played against what I think is the greatest running back of all time, Jim Brown, it was fun just to watch as Sam prepared for that week coming up against Cleveland. As we got closer to Sunday, it became even more and more intense. Of course, the media had picked up on this. It was Brown, Sam Huff, Brown, Sam Huff.
Sam was basically the quarterback of that defense, and he had the flair to understand that he was in New York, so he became an instant celebrity by attaching himself to my legs quite often.
We hit him whether he had the ball or not, and we knew that we had to stop Brown because their offense was built around him. Why shouldn't you? The man averaged 5.2 yards a carry lifetime.
In 1958, New York would need a win versus the Browns in the final game of the year in order to make the postseason. Huff and the Giants would be up to the challenge, and as fate would have it, their opponent in the playoffs would once again be Cleveland and their dynamic running back.
And in the 58 game, I think, we had to play the Browns back-to-back. We had to beat them back-to-back, and he played out of his world. I think he shut Jimmy Brown down to something like, half a dozen yards in one game. Jim never hurt us in either one of those 2 games, which was truly remarkable. Those are the games we had to win to get in to play the Baltimore Colts. And Sam, along with our defense, as they pointed out to us many, many times over, for many, many years, they won those games for us.
Huff intercepts Plum on a spectacular catch, and a 10-0 defensive epic puts the Giants in the title game with the Colts. Fans go wild celebrating football's little miracle stretch drive to the Eastern title.
With the popularity of football on the rise in 1958, Huff and Gifford would be 2 of New York's biggest stars, and together they would help lead the Giants back to the NFL championship game, where they would face the Baltimore Colts. A defining moment in NFL history. This battle would become known as the greatest game ever played.
Everything building to 1958 was the rebirth of pro football. I think it was the wise and very intelligent use of television that had helped this game pick up fans around the entire country. And all of a sudden, people were watching football more than anything they watched on television. And it became a real boost. I mean, it just grew up overnight. And the 58 championship game of Baltimore, played in Yankee Stadium, was a classic. The thing that set it so far apart are the great players who were recognized later in their careers or 10 years after their careers. You ask most pro football fans who played in the championship in 1958, Baltimore and New York. Johnny Unitas, I remember him, and Charlie Connolly was the quarterback. People remember that game.
Keep your eyes on Gifford at left half. He slides out for Connolly's pass. Drives through Davis for a touchdown. And the amazing Giants take the lead. Connolly nails Rote on the crossover. Kyle shakes off Davis and Tassett. But Nelson hits him and the ball pops loose. Webster picks it up and gallops downfield. Pandemonium grips Yankee Stadium.
I mean, it was a crazy, crazy day. And they didn't win it so much as we lost it.
Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
And the Colts win 23-17 as Bedlam breaks loose. Goalposts totter as Yankee Stadium, football capital of the year, closes down a glorious Giants season and the greatest game ever played.
But out of that grew these sort of bigger-than-life people. And, of course, one of the great players of all time, Johnny Unitas. He, of course, was a legendary one. Raymond Barry, great receiver. And that one game in 1958 meant so much to all of us. And it just kind of grew, and it had such an enormous impact on all of our lives.
When you look back at the history of this game and the contribution that each and every one of these ball players made, it was just such a magical time. And it was a new era coming in to pro football, which made it possible for today's television and radio and everything else, and bringing the fans. And now we have the #1 sport in the world, pro football.
Despite losing to the Baltimore Colts in the 1958 NFL Championship, known as the greatest game ever played, Huff and his Giants teammates would be thrust into the national spotlight. Gaining public praise for their creative combination of strategy and exciting game day execution, for the first time in professional football, media attention was being devoted to a defense, and the advertising world would hone in on Huff's celebrity.
I think if any sport is going to make it, you have to be strong in New York. I mean, it's the media capital of the world.
Traditionally, defensive players were typecast as rugged brutes, but Huff and his group of Giants would break the mold, showing the world that they were well-rounded, intellectual men.
That was such a great time in sports, you know. We only had 33 ball players on the team then. Alex Webster came from New Jersey, and we had Frank Gifford and Kyle Rote and Charlie Connolly on the offense. And on defense, we had Roosevelt Greer and Dick Modzelewski, Andy Robustelli, Jim Kakavich, and I shored up the middle.
Quarterbacks find Red Doggin middle guard Sam Huff the toughest in the league.
Then Y.E. Tittle came to town. I mean, all of these guys, we so blended together, and we had such great ownership with the Mara family. Wellington Mara was on the sideline at Yankee Stadium every day that we practiced. He was there, and he never said anything, but you always knew who the owner was of the New York Giants. And it had a just wonderful family. And then on Saturdays, everybody would bring their children, their kids, into Yankee Stadium to practice and play and everything else. And Wellington Mara brought his children, John and Chris and everybody. And we all brought our children to be part of that time, of that scene, and it'll be something that they'll never forget.
New York would be a dominant force in the NFL during that great era when Yankee Stadium was home to the Giants. In his 8 years with the franchise, Huff and the Big Blue would capture 6 Eastern Conference titles and 1 NFL championship.
What gives you the feeling about some place is success. Success breeds success. Winning is the only thing. Lombardi used to say that.
In those 8 seasons with the Giants, Sam would amazingly never miss a game. And he played in 4 consecutive Pro Bowls with the Big Blue, spanning from 1958 to 1961. And he's still considered one of the best middle linebackers to have ever played the game.
Sam Huff, I'm looking number 70 up there. He didn't believe that anyone could beat the Giants. He thought he was the greatest middle linebacker in the world. He was great. He thought he was, and he convinced us he was. And I think he was.
No one at the time had ever come along to play that position. But then over the years, you kept thinking, was there ever going to be another Sam Huff? We've seen a lot of great linebackers, Ray Nitschke, they come and they take Butkus. I don't think any of them have been better than Sam Huff. And he was the heart and soul of our defense.
As the decade of the 1960s got underway, the Giants' great defense from their golden years in the 1950s would slowly be dismantled. At the end of the 1963 season, after 8 years in New York, Sam would reluctantly see this great era come to a close when he was traded to rival Washington.
I loved everything about the Giants. I never wanted to be traded. My 8 years with the New York Giants, I never missed a game. I played all the preseason games. I played on all the special teams. I got knocked out. I played hurt. I did everything. Ollie Sherman, I guess, for whatever reason, decides to trade the defense. Traded Roosevelt Greer the year before, Dick Modzelewski, me, Erich Barnes, all the defense.
Huff's addition to Washington in 1964 almost instantly bolstered the squad, and their defense would rank second in the NFL in 1965. In 1967, an ankle injury ended Huff's streak of 150 straight games played, and he would retire before the 1968 season. But in 1969, Vince Lombardi took over as Washington's new head coach, and he would talk Sam out of retirement. With Huff and Lombardi reunited, Washington would enjoy their best season since 1955. In his 13-year career, Huff would total 30 interceptions, 142 tackles, and 5 touchdowns. Although he ended his career with Washington, in his heart, Sam will always consider himself a New York Giant.
Those 8 years were just such great years, and then the 5 years that I played with Washington were also good. But there was nothing like Yankee Stadium, and that's why we played so well there.
In 1982, with his mentor Tom Landry introducing him, Sam Huff would be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I want to take this opportunity to personally thank the man who taught me how to play pro football, and of course, that is Tom Landry. I am deeply honored that all of my friends are here with me today, the greatest day of my life. Thank you very much.
Harry, I want to ask you about Sam Huff. You played similar position, that inside linebacker position, and you had a chance to be around him, even though he was retired as a player, but he always wore his Giant proudly.
Even before, I was drafted to play with the Giants, I recognized that name, Sam Huff, and at some point I reached out to get some advice from, Sam about playing the position. He was gracious enough to give me time, and I really appreciated it. And subsequently, when I got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I was able to see Sam on a regular basis, and we had our share of conversations talking about playing the game.
Sam Huff's first year, he was ready to leave. He actually left the team. He wanted to just quit. They didn't have the right position for him. He was a down lineman. They were looking at him there, and he left. He literally left for the airport one day, and Vince Lombardi was dispatched to go get him. And Lombardi sees him at the airport, and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm leaving." Lombardi says, "No, you have to come back." So Lombardi goes back. He tells Jim Lee Howell, find a spot for him, figure it out. And Tom Landry then puts him in the flex defense as that 4-3 middle linebacker, and then the rest is history. But he was ready to be done, and he kind of laughed about it as his career went on. But imagine what might not have happened.
Sure.
It all worked out.
As one of their most iconic players in franchise history, Big Blue would pay tribute to Sam by inducting him into the inaugural class of the Giants Ring of Honor. This man defined the middle linebacker position and helped lead the Giants to the 1956 championship in his rookie season. He played in 5 Pro Bowls. Please welcome number 70, Sam Huff.